Hello, everyone. My name's Doc, your host for all things healing, and welcome back to another episode of Healer Skill Spotlight, the series where we take a look at the good, the bad, and the broken things about every ESO healing skill. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at the Curative Runiform skill line ultimate, Vitalizing Glyphic, as well as its morphs, Resonating Glyphic and Glyphic of the Tides. Let's get into this. So, as we always do, we'll start by talking about the base skill and move on to the morphs. So, Vitalizing Glyphic, what is it? What does it do? Well, this is the first ultimate skill we're covering on Healer Skill Spotlight, and while I didn't have a ton of experience with this skill prior to starting this video, I actually really enjoyed getting to use it. It's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of good qualities about it, and I think one of its biggest strengths is how versatile this skill is. I'm getting ahead of myself though. Vitalizing Glyphic costs 200 ultimate, and when casting this skill, it creates a floating apocryphal glyphic with an area of effect around it. You and your allies standing in that AoE are granted up to 200 weapon and spell damage, as well as healing you and your allies every 1 second, depending on how much health the glyphic has. Now, if you've never used this skill, you may be asking, the glyphic has health? Why? Well, that is the coolest part. It's that we can actually power up the glyphic by healing it, which is how we increase the amount of damage and healing this skill provides. That damage, by the way, is actually unique and can stack with other sources of damage, such as, major courage or powerful assault or whatever. I think it's a really unique way of engaging a player with their ultimate rather than just hitting one button and forgetting about it. It's not super hard to heal it to full health either. If you're using most of the standard healing skills, you can usually just position yourself behind the glyphic and let combat prayer or energy orb do most of the work. So where would we want to use this or not use this? Well, like I mentioned previously, one of its strengths is that it's incredibly versatile. A combination of healing and damage increase makes this both a defensive and offensive ult, meaning it can be a solid choice in just about any encounter. It's not necessarily the best at either defense or offense, but when you're jumping into a random group and you have no idea what the team needs, you can place a safe bet that this skill will be a benefit to the team. I will say though, one drawback of this skill is that it's stationary. So in content where you're constantly on the move, it can be difficult to get the full value out of the skill. In PvE, this really isn't too big of an issue because I can't think of any encounters where you literally can't stop moving for the entire fight, and if you do think of one, it's probably still not quite as common as at least being able to stand still a little bit. In PvP though, that is more of a problem. Because of the nature of how fast-paced PvP is, I did find that I or my teammates would have to pretty frequently reposition, or we might actually be forced out of the AoE by an enemy. Still though, if your team is occupying a choke point, this is a great ultimate to have. So next, let's talk about the morphs, and we'll start with the Glyphic of the Tides. So this morph makes it so that the Glyphic spawns at higher health, and provides you and your allies with major protection, granting a 10% damage reduction when the glyphic is healed to full health. While there are a few ways of gaining or providing major protection already, this is definitely a good one since you also gain that heal and that damage increase on top of that buff. In my opinion, I think that this is the stronger of the two morphs, and by a very long shot. Glyphic of the Tides is especially nice since you can activate that major protection really quickly, thanks to that glyphic spawning in at higher health, and having that quick activation can really come in clutch when you're using the skill to overcome a heal check, like shrapnel or baneful mark or something like that. In PvP, that major protection can also be a huge difference maker too, especially for your bombers and gankers, or even just people that don't really play PvP and maybe they're sitting at, 17k health, and that major protection may make a difference for them. Overall, it's a really solid morph, and I think it's the obvious choice for most healers. Okay, now it's time to go over the other morph, Resonating Glyphic. So, what does this skill do, and why did I say that Glyphic of the Tides was much better than this morph? Well, what this skill changes is that now instead of the Glyphic being charged by healing, it's charged by damage. Yep, that's it. That's all. And that is also its biggest problem. It doesn't really add anything other than changing the method of charging. On paper, it sounds like it could be good. Naturally, there's more damage going out than healing just because there's more damage dealers than healers, so this will charge faster. In a lot of cases, that is true. The problem is that it isn't always true. As a healer, you probably aren't doing enough damage to not have to rely on damage dealers to do most of the work for you when charging Resonating Glyphic. Maybe they don't see the Glyphic. Maybe they're doing mechanics. Or maybe they just expect that someone else will handle it. Either way, you get the idea that it's not foolproof. Even if your damage dealers do focus on the Glyphic, you're still losing out on major protection. And honestly, I feel like I can charge the healing morph nearly as fast or even faster than a lot of damage dealers can charge the damage morph. That's not a testament to my skill or build or anything like that, but rather how easy it is to use the healing morph. So, if the healing morph is more reliable, nearly as fast to charge, and provides major protection, is there really any reason to use this morph? Well, I'm going to say probably not. Maybe I'm wrong though. So, let me know if I am. And I think that wraps it up for this episode of Healer Skill Spotlight. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. Let me know what you think of the skill, as well as what other skills you'd like to see me cover in the series. Remember that the skill doesn't necessarily have to be explicitly a healing skill, so long as healers can use it. Don't forget to check out the link in the description so you can follow me on stuff and join my Discord server. Before we sign off, I also want to give a shout out to my Patreon supporters Tyler Scott, Dylan Stewart, and Sharni Lee, as well as my YouTube members King Gingy, Durgy, Insert Username, Eric from Ohio, Timeburn, and Malcolm Ewing. Thank you guys for your continued support, and I'm going to have to reformat this list if you guys keep being so generous. I'm going to have to figure out another way to display these names. But I think all I've got left to say is that I've been Doc. Take care of yourselves, be good to others, don't forget to charge that Glyphic, and I will catch y'all in the next one.